Hi, I'm Brian Dilg, and I'm here to tell you about ISO. Now, you could say that the heart of a digital camera is the image sensor. That's that magical little device that actually converts light into an image. Well, ISO is just a number that describes how the sensor is going to react when light reaches it. A higher ISO number means more sensitivity. In other words, it doesn't need as much light to capture an image. A lower ISO number means less sensitivity. The sensor doesn't react as quickly when light strikes it. So to make the same picture, it'll need more light or more time to collect enough light. Now, that may seem a little strange because we don't perceive light as growing over time. It just seems to be there all the time. So to understand it the way the camera sees it, think of light as rain falling. The longer you leave a bucket outside, or the more intense the rain is, the more quickly that bucket is going to fill up. Or in this case, collect enough light to give us the image we want. So photographers refer to this ISO as the speed of the camera. Literally, how much time is it going to take to collect enough light to make the image as bright as we want it to be? So just remember, the higher the ISO number, the more sensitive the camera. Well, here are the numbers that we use, and you'll see they're very straightforward. You'll also notice that they double: 100, 200, 400, etc. Now, what this means to photography is every time we double the ISO number, we double the sensitivity of the camera. And photographers refer to this doubling as stops. So for example, ISO 800 is one full stop more sensitive than ISO 400. ISO 100 is two stops less sensitive than 400. Do you follow? Be aware that most EOS cameras will let you adjust this sensitivity in increments as small as a third of a stop. So you'll see some additional numbers between these. So for instance, 125, 160, 250, etc. Just remember, the higher the number, the more sensitive your camera is. So like the other exposure settings on your camera, you can control ISO manually, or you can let the camera set it automatically. And you may already be thinking, is this something I really need to worry about? Can I just let the camera set the ISO and take care of that? Well, there's one little trade-off that you do need to be aware of. As we start to raise the ISO higher and higher, you will introduce a little bit of noise into your images. And if we zoom in on this example, you'll see what I'm talking about. As the ISO goes up, you'll see these random pixels of saturated color. The bottom line is, at the lower ISO settings, you're going to get more accurate colors, you're going to get less of this noise, and you're going to get better detail. There's no free lunch though. Lower ISO is better quality, but it means you need more light. So in the end, here's what I recommend. Don't ever let any of these technical considerations stop you from taking your picture. I'd much rather come home with a slightly grainy picture than no picture at all. So let's walk through some practical examples of how you deal with this whole ISO business. The very first thing I do when I walk into any situation is set my ISO for the lighting conditions. So let's say we're outside on a sunny day, or in a studio like this one with strobe lights. I have more than enough light, so it's a no-brainer. I'm going to choose the lowest, highest quality ISO, 100, 200 at the most. Now, if it gets cloudy outside, or if I have to move indoors, even on a sunny day, I don't have as much light. I'm typically going to be working in a 400 to 1600 range. Once it gets dark, all bets are off. You may push that ISO higher and higher as much as you need it to. Now, here's what I suggest. Do a test. Do what the pros do. Take a couple of hours and shoot some pictures at every ISO setting on your camera and judge for yourself how they look. That way you can make an informed decision. The last thing I want to say about ISO is this. I realize that it can seem like there are a lot of settings to deal with when you're starting off in photography. So if there's a piece of technology that comes along that helps simplify it, I use it. Well, it happens to be that there's a feature called automatic ISO in your camera. And what I think makes it incredibly useful is that you can set the minimum and the maximum. So remember that test that I recommended that you shoot? Well, let's say you did that and you decided that 1600 is the highest ISO that you're comfortable with on your camera. Well, you go into the menu, you set 1600 as the maximum, 100 as the minimum, put your camera on automatic ISO and forget about it. It's amazing. It's one less thing for you to think about. Well, I hope this has been instructive and helpful. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos for more great information.